Sunday, January 26, 2020, maneco64 here. I'm glad to be back for the Sunday live stream. Last Sunday, I couldn't do it. I did do a video last Sunday, but didn't have time to do the live stream. I think it's a good part of the community of the channel. That's Hi, Mr. B. Billy's here. Billy had been upstairs most of the afternoon, most of the evening, and he came down just in time. He's learning. Hi, What a Shambles. Nice to see you here. SAC Media. A lot to talk about today, of course, with the coronavirus. I've looked into it quite a bit. We will go over what I think, and we'll also go over some of the stories of the markets. What else? I bought a new phone today with a new camera. Hopefully it's going to be better quality for the videos. Yeah, I've invested a bit more in the setup. That's what it is, investing. I'll use the expense of the phone for to deduct against taxes in the next tax year. And my wife has kept my old phone, which is still a pretty good phone. So it wasn't really a bad deal. Nice to see a lot of people showing up here. I think 9 o'clock is a good time. London time, 4 p.m. New York or Eastern time. Gary D. Hi, Gary D. Lord Humongous. Always nice to see Lord Humongous. Ben, Aaron, Hard Rock, Annabelle Franks. Alfredo Costa from Lisbon, Portugal. Yeah, I spoke, I was in contact with one of the viewers from the UK. It's really nice to talk to people that watch the channel. And one of the things he said that I appreciated and I never thought too much about, he said, what you've been able to do is grow a community of like-minded people. And I think that's important. Jefferson Humber, nice to see you here. Lord Henry from London. Yeah, coronavirus. So I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about viruses. I'm not a specialist, but there is a very good website, Chris Martinson. I've been reading his stuff. He's more of an economist, but he has a PhD in pathology, toxicology from Duke University. And I really recommend people watch his videos. I'll put a link right here. His YouTube channel is Peak Prosperity. And he's very balanced about the coronavirus. But I think I'm not going to go into the theories of who started it. I think it's more important to realize that it could be serious. And I think it's probably a lot worse than we've been told. There's various different kinds of reports from mainstream media, Zero Hedge, but I think the guy from Peak Prosperity is really good. Shane Sturgis. One thing I've done though, that I've read about this coronavirus is that it can be a few times worse than the normal flu. So if you're young and healthy, you can fight it. But the very young babies or children or the elderly, they're more in danger from this virus. One thing I've done that I used to do in the past is I just bought some colloidal silver. Silver has some really good qualities of being antiviral, anti-infection. So I bought some colloidal silver yesterday, or was it this morning? I think I'm going to get it tomorrow from Amazon one day. So colloidal silver is very good. Am I telling you guys to go and buy colloidal silver? No, I think the best thing is not to worry too much and try to be as healthy as possible. Of course, we're going to talk about how this could impact the markets. Billy's doing all right. He's over there on the couch. Billy had to stay on his own a little bit today. We went out, my wife and I, went out shopping, had some lunch. My daughter was away, so he stayed on his own for a while, but he's okay. He's been trained to do that. Yeah, one interesting thing I read, listened to Peak Prosperity, Chris Martinson, and I really recommend that channel. He said that the coronavirus was transmitted from a bat, then to a snake, and then to humans. The other thing about the coronavirus is the latency. You might be carrying the virus, and it might take it might take 9 days for you to get all the symptoms and feel really sick. So you could be carrying the virus for almost 2 weeks, and no one knows it. So that's the danger of this virus. The other thing he talked about is the how transmissive it is. I think is the R naught or something. It's and basically what he said. Let me just finish here on the transmission of the coronavirus. So if you go in a room with 10 people and you have the virus, if less than one person on average gets it, that means the virus is not going to spread. But if it's 1.5 to 2.5, that could be serious. And it looks like this virus is. Yeah, last night was nice. I had a nice dinner with my golfing friends, Burns night, good food. Yeah, it was fun. The thing is, there weren't that many people, unfortunately. It was more the older members. My table was more like younger people, but it was nice. Aaron Levy, yeah, I'm not going to get into that, whether the government purposely spread this virus as a distraction from financial chaos. That is possible, but I don't have any masks, low blood pressure, N95 masks. U.S. Embassy in Baghdad just hit with 3 rockets. Wow. Well, the other thing I've noticed, the weekend markets on IG index. So the Dow right now is down 206 points, just to let you know. That's the weekend market. Spanish flu, yeah, that was the biggest. That was a big flu. It killed millions, 18 million there, as he says. So Greg Manerino is gone for a week. Graham Hobbs, hi Graham, nice to see you. Just have a sip of my coffee. Got one of my shut down the Bank of England mug. So what else? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I've read a lot about this coronavirus. I've read the Wall Street Journal. China urges calm over virus during critical period. I've just seen something on Zero Hedge. It says Chinese nurse says 90,000 already infected in an emotional plea for help. So, I mean, my daughter, she went this last week to visit her boyfriend in Wales. He's working with a company, a Welsh company. They're developing an app or also a website application for learning language. And they have a Chinese investment company that's very interested in that. And he's supposed to go to China. He was even thinking of taking my daughter with him, but now that's up in the air. We don't know. And I also heard Chris Martinson also said that from today, Beijing is going to be a level 1, which means, yeah, you can't go in and out of the city. I'm not too sure about that, but I think it's getting serious. We'll have to see, and it would definitely affect the financial markets if this gets worse. China going to lead the 21st century? I don't think so. No, it's a good bet that gold opens higher tonight. I think it will. It looked pretty good I spoke about that yesterday. If you guys saw my video, the technical picture looks even better on the monthly chart, and we could have a strong close to the month, which is, you know, this last week. All right. So, another interesting thing that I wanted to talk about, this is more about the markets, is that I've noticed that the US yield curve, the treasury curve, is starting to invert again. All the way to the 5-year, the curve is inverted. The 5-year yield is at 1.5%. The Fed funds, effective Fed funds rate is 155. I think pretty soon we're going to see the 10-year go below the Fed funds, and that's another sign that things are not well, that the curve is going to invert again. It doesn't help the banks, because the banks like to borrow short term and lend long term, and if they have to borrow short term, if it costs more for them to borrow and then to lend long term, they're not going to make as much money. They're not going to lend as much to people. Maybe the Olympics will be suspended. Yeah, well, it's going to be in Tokyo, isn't it? I mean, we need to keep an eye on this thing. It doesn't look good. And it looks like the Chinese government is trying to play it down. Even the WHO try to play it down. It could be a lot worse. I think it's a lot worse. So we've got 150 people almost, 24 thumbs up. I've done a little bit of research for the people here, especially for people in the UK. I'll probably do a video soon about it, about the average house price in the UK and also in London versus gold, how it compares. I can just say that it's still, that ratio is still really high. And, you know, the house prices are still overvalued. They're not as overvalued versus gold as it was in 2000. Aaron says he just wishes the system would collapse already. Silver can be priceless. Be careful what you wish for, Aaron. Yeah, Colonel Crypto. I'm gonna probably pretty soon. I've done the research here. It's all on this piece of paper. I used the nationwide house price. They have a lot of good data, Nationwide Building Society. The data go back as far as 1952. Thoughts on crypto? I think cryptos, I have cryptocurrencies, and I think they're going to do well. Not all of them, of course. You need to do your homework. There's a lot of altcoins out there, but the top Bitcoin should continue to do well. Right now, they're correcting a little bit. I'm holding them. I'm not trading them. I have also EOS. I have some other altcoins and Bitcoin. Of course, I still think gold and silver are the ultimate kind of insurance, monetary insurance, and I prefer them. But I see cryptocurrencies more as speculative. Martin Hansen, invest in mining companies. I'm not at the moment. I was until last September, and yeah, I don't really. Yeah, I've got the cryptocurrencies as a bet, like a leverage bet. I know it has nothing to do with mining, but what I recommend you doing, and I've done this in the past, is to go through like Sprott Asset Management or the Tocqueville Fund, the prospectus, and see what companies they hold in their mining funds. That's a good way to play the mining sector, and make sure you know about the junior miners, exploration, royalty companies. There's a lot of different kinds of mining companies. Make sure you also take in consideration who's running the companies, what the political risks are, in what countries they are. So there's a lot of research to do. Off the top of my head, a good company to bet on to track silver is Hecla Mining, which has done quite well already in the last few months. Symbol is HL. Not recommending it, but I think it's a good one that I've had in the past. Yeah, royalty companies are good because the gold is coming out of the ground, and the price goes up. The stock price of that company will go up. Justice American says an ounce of silver can buy 40 pounds of rice in Venezuela right now. Yeah, I remember watching a year and a half or so ago really good analysis on YouTube by someone looking at the price of gold in Venezuela in their currency, and it's gone through the roof, of course. And the big mistake that people can do in a hyperinflationary like circumstance like Venezuela is to think that it's time to get out of gold. But because you shouldn't, you get out at 5 million, and then in a week's time is it at 37 million. So only get out if you need to spend some of that gold. And I think we're going to get to that kind of situation in the US, in the UK, in Europe. It's going to get bad. People are going to lose confidence. Could this coronavirus be the black swan? I think it's possible. I think it's possible. It could be the trigger for it. Greg, there's no limits to how much precious metals we can buy in the UK. Gold sovereigns are legal tender. They're legally, their face value is £1. Of course, it costs a lot more to buy it, but you can buy as much as you want. You win the lottery tomorrow, 20 million in the Euro Millions. You can go and buy 20 million worth of sovereigns. Yeah, it probably would kind of move the market, maybe. Who knows? Real physical, because a lot of the hedge funds, they don't buy physical gold. A lot of the hedge funds, they have rules that they can only do paper assets, so they go into the ETFs. They don't really buy physical gold. Maybe some of them do, but the majority, I would say, stick to the paper. Yeah, Donald Bump. There's, I think, the Chinese word for crisis is also opportunity. You're right. We just have to hope we're not in the right end of the crisis or the opportunity. What rules do you mean, Mario? You mean about buying gold in the UK? There is no rules. You can buy as much as you want. Not sure if that's the question. Chris Clanton, dollar is the best house in a bad neighborhood. That's right. The dollar will probably be the last fiat currency to collapse, but it doesn't mean it's not going to go down as well together with the other ones versus precious metals. I don't think it's a good hedge for people, let's say in Belgium or wherever outside the US, to hedge themselves with Federal Reserve notes. I think precious metals is the best way, even though the dollar might do better until a certain point. Shane Sturgis, yeah, you can buy up to 9,000. I don't know if they reported to the tax office or to the FCA, but there's really not a problem buying gold unless you're involved in criminal activity. They might come after you, but if you earn your income cleanly, there shouldn't be a problem. FOMC meeting this week with Fed announcement on Wednesday. Yeah. Yeah, I was talking earlier. I don't know if you guys remember that the yield curve is starting to invert again. So the Fed, I'm not sure what the probability of a rate cut. I don't think they're going to cut this week, but they might think about cutting soon because in the next meeting, because we're seeing the long-term rates get below the Fed funds rate. They might not want the curve to invert too much right now. The US yield curve is inverted all the way to the 5-year, looking at the Fed funds rate. Uh, 180 people, that's pretty good so far. So right now, for example, the Fed funds is at 155 and the 5-year is at 151. So, and the 7-year is 160. I think it's only a matter of time till that inverts. Ben, I don't think they're going to do anything in this week, FOMC. General Stagger, it's time to quarantine ourselves. Yeah, you need to be careful. You need to stay healthy, I guess, as well. What was the Deutsche Bank problem? Well, Deutsche Bank has been like all the other banks. They've been a zombie bank for years. The Japanese banks, the British banks, the American banks are doing a little better because they deal for the U.S. government. U.S. government is spending like a drunken sailor. The war economy, basically, the U.S. has a war economy. They spend more on defense put together than the other top 16 countries. So, and they're running big budget deficits. I think that's the new thing. Governments are going to start spending more. The US is leading the way. I saw a report from someone saying that the US is doing the right thing by having a huge budget deficit and that people should follow. Well, that should help precious metals even more. David Montross from Montross, I hope I pronounced that right, from Michigan. Hi, David. What's safer than treasuries? Gold. Treasuries are the only reason treasuries are safe is that the U.S., like Alan Greenspan said, the Treasury can always pay off the debt by printing more money, by creating more debt. The problem with that is that the dollar or the paper dollar loses value because they create more and more supply. But yeah, it is safe, treasuries, but they won't hold the purchasing power. Let's check and see where the Dow is right now. Yeah, we're down 212. The futures haven't opened, but the IG index here in the UK, they have a weekend market. So we're down a couple of hundred. Lil T, I'm not a doctor. The thing about this virus that I will cover is that it could affect the world economy. China is second biggest economy in the world. If China shuts down the whole world, it could trigger a big recession all over the world. They're not going to buy as much resources from Australia, for example. Yeah, it could be quite disruptive. But we need to keep No, keep an eye on things, not jump to conclusions, and but it doesn't look too good right now. Yeah, depression, Greg. I think we have been in a recession for many years. The only reason they've been able to cover it up is with the government deficit spending. Name less. If gold backs the dollar, again, what backs gold? Gold doesn't need backing. Gold is the ultimate extinguisher of debt because you can hold it and people accept it as payment. The Federal Reserve note doesn't extinguish debt. It's a promissory note. It's like a merry-go-round. It's a musical chair. Uh, what's happened here? Oh, okay. Can you? Is it buffering? I just thought. Anyway, yeah, jewelry, like Graham says, uh, jewelry you're paying like for a bracelet that's worth maybe 50 pounds in gold, they're going to charge you 200, the retailer. So it's not a good way of buying gold. The best way to buy gold as investment is bullion. Even though the there are Indian jewelers in London who sell pretty much near the spot price. So the Indians do jewelry almost like money. That's right. What a shambles. Gold is money. Everything else is credit. Roland Mousseau says that the same people that said gold is money created the Fed. I don't really agree. I think gold has been a good, stable store of value for thousands of years, even before J.P. Morgan. He said that because they asked him the question in Congress. Uh, yeah, so, but I think the most important thing, and I think things are changing, is to have your health, right? Because if you don't have health, you can't do anything. Gold is important, of course, but it's not everything. It's just like a savings. It's for a rainy day. I think for me, the most important thing is to be able to have a source of income, very little debt, and health, and to also have people that you know in your community so that you can help each other. That's the I think that's important as well. Yeah, that's right, Greg. Gold represents work completed. Yeah, rhodium has been going up a lot. Rhodium and platinum are precious metals, but their stock to flow ratio is very low. What does that mean? Well, the gold, there's 64 years of gold, uh, of gold stock for every year of mine production, and gold doesn't get consumed. So supply and demand are not that important for gold. Mining supply and demand for the price, because the 99.9% of all the gold ever mined is still around. Platinum and rhodium, they're consumed in industry. So their value is not as stable as gold, and that's why they're not money, even though they're precious. So as a monetary precious metals, I would say gold and silver are the best in that order, gold and silver. Oh yeah, General Stack. It's the latency of the coronavirus, and I recommend people watch Peak Prosperity. Eric uh, Martinson. He knows. He's a good channel to watch. Basically, you catch the virus. It takes about 9 days, sometimes 2 weeks, for all the symptoms to come out. So you could be carrying the virus for 9 days and not know. So there is a better chance of spreading it. That's the latency. Yeah. High water shambles, gold silver ratio. Yeah. Uh, I spoke about it yesterday in my video. I looked at the chart and it's around 86. I think it's really sticky. But gold, silver did well on Friday relative to gold. I think it's going to move lower, even though, and I think we were forming a huge head and shoulder formation since 2018, and I think we're forming the right hand shoulder right now, and it could take a while. It's not going to happen in one day, but over the next few months, I expect silver to start picking up. I think the really key level for silver is 21. There's also this guy. He's the CIO of Guggenheim Investment Management. He said he expects silver to be the big trade for him in 2020. Of course, I don't look at silver as a trade. I look at it as saving. Yeah, Lord Humongous. I think he's right. Minert. Yeah, I think he knows what he's, and he also noted that the Federal Reserve is enabling the Ponzi market. David Bradley. Yeah, there's a lot of people who say that JP Morgan has a lot of physical silver. Um, yeah, the thing about JP Morgan is that they act on behalf of their clients a lot. So you never know if it's for their proprietary account or for themselves. Yeah, Lori Munger, I saw that Minor. He is an advisor at the New York Fed. Yeah. Hi, Pat. Pat says he got here late, looking for a huge week. What's your opinion about this coming week? I think it's going to be very volatile because of what's happening in China with this virus. Uh, right now, IG index here in the UK has the Dow down about 200 points. I think precious metals on the monthly chart look pretty good. We had a really good close last Friday at 1572. So it looks like gold and silver could keep going higher. Yeah, the markets, you never know. They don't look like they're going to start very well, but you never know. They could bounce back on miraculously bounce back, couldn't they? Brexit on Friday, Smiley Blue. Yeah, that's the 31st of January. Yeah. The thing is, yeah, things are not going to change in the very short term here in the UK. I think it's better to have one less layer of government, the EU, but we still got a long way to go here. We still have big government. We still have a lot of inflation. We still have a lot of government spending, deficit spending. So, but it's a good thing that we have one less layer of government, as I said, which is the EU. But we're not completely out. They're still negotiating. So I don't think things are going to change dramatically on the ground at the moment. Baffled mind. Well, I just said gold silver ratio. It's been forming a top for the last year and a half. I think it's going to go lower. It's at very high levels compared to the last 30 years. I don't think there's that much more upside. Pad, will the Fed cut rates? No, I don't think they'll do it this week, Pad. They might do it later on this year. I noticed, Pat, that the yield curve is starting to invert again from the Fed funds all the way to the 5-year yield. I haven't, Greg. I haven't followed platinum too closely to answer that question. Sorry. David Bradley, 7-9. Yeah, the San Diego tournament. Yeah, actually, I played there, Torrey Pines, when I was younger. I played in 1982, the Junior World there. Very nice course. Yeah, Tiger Woods is 8 under. Doesn't look like he's going to win 6 behind. General Stack, fiat is accepted everywhere because it's forced upon people. If they didn't have a legal tender monopoly, no one would take paper. Why would you want a piece of paper instead of a piece of a coin, a silver coin or a gold coin? Yeah, Lord Humongous, Pebble Beach is, yeah, they're both public courses, Torrey Pines and Pebble Beach. I would say Pebble Beach is more beautiful, probably a little harder. But Torrey Pines, they lengthened it a lot since I last played it. I think I shot 82-80. I was about 17, but I'd only been playing for about 2 years. So back then I wasn't too happy with the score, but looking back, don't think that was too bad. I did miss the cut by a few shots though. What are the signals from the bond market to show stress in the long-term credit cycle? Yeah, in the bond market, the signal about this credit cycle is when the lower rated credit corporates, junk bonds, when the spread between those yields and the treasury starts widening. That means for right now, I think the spreads are very tight. For example, 10-year yield is at 170. Then you got a corporate bond at 180, 10 basis points. When that difference starts widening, let's say to 50 basis points, 0.5%, even if yields are going down, that's a bad sign about a credit. Right now, they're still pretty tight. So I think that's the thing to look at is credit spreads between, corporate debt, corporate credit, and U.S. Treasuries. If the yield spread starts widening, that's a bad sign. Hope that helps. William Birken Road is in Torrey Pines. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. I haven't been there since 1982. I'd love to go back again. I didn't even know I was going. My dad said, "Oh, I'm going to take you to play a golf tournament." That was really nice of him. It was a great experience. And there's a story about my dad when he took me in '82. He had a friend. He met a guy there who took him to play when I was playing because he wanted to go play while I was playing the tournament. And he took him to the to Balboa Park where the younger players were playing, younger kids. And when my dad came back, he said, "I saw a really good player, young player, really nice smile, African American, and his name was Tiger Woods." So my dad saw him. I think he must have been about 8. Nameless, what's another good chat for business? Because I'm not sure what you mean there. If you could ask the question again. Looks like we've got like some kind of troll here. Lynn Gordon. When Gaddafi tried to create a gold-backed currency, the Fiat Kingdom murdered his nation. Yeah, he did. He was trying to create a African dinar, gold dinar, to trade with the sub-Saharan countries. Silver Daddy is from Basel, BIS land. Silver Daddy, Daddy Silver. Michael Cross, Rio Vision, says that the junk bond corporate downgrade will cause a collapse of the system. Yeah, the thing that's happened since 2008 is that the triple B bonds, which are just above junk, they're still investment grade. They've gone from 800 billion to 3 trillion. And when they get downgraded, it's going to have create big waves in the markets. I think the crisis will start in the bond market. Illuminati Silver sure likes slamming silver. Yeah, I haven't listened to Illuminati Silver in a long time, in a while. Rethinking the dollar. Yeah, I like Rethinking the Dollar. Mike Manuel. Yeah, David Bradley. Gold. Yeah, gold requires discipline. Paper money, fiat, politicians can just create, spend it pretty much as they want. They can buy votes with it. Gold is not as easy. That's right, John DeGlass. That's what, they know what money is. They know they need the gold. And the reason they try to vilify gold is that they don't want the general public owning gold, because that's competition for them. ETFs, ETFs or ETSs are not gold. They just track the price of gold. Anyone a Tesla investor? No, I'm not. But I've seen that the company's done quite well. You could be right, Pat, about this crisis. Wasn't it Ram Emanuel who said that you should never waste a good crisis? So yeah, they could use this crisis in China as a way to do other things and other aspects, like with the markets. They could use it as an excuse. The other thing I was thinking, it's not out of the realms of possibility that markets could be shut down, especially in China. And if the market shut down in China and this virus spreads to other places in the world, we could see financial markets shut down and people won't be able to get their money out. And that's why I'm happy I've got my little bit of gold and my silver in my hand. Yeah, Noah, I do trust Sprott. They do have a physical backed ETF. I agree with you there. So yeah, that's the other thing that I wanted to say. We need to, of course, not jump the gun, but we need to keep an eye on this coronavirus. If it becomes very serious, they could use that as an excuse to close the financial markets everywhere around the world. Well, Mr. Fatface, it might not cause a drop, because if they shut the markets, no one can trade. Yeah, right now, let's check again. Yeah, the Dow is down 196. The futures haven't opened yet, but this is just a weekend betting market. Where do you think they sell the gold back to me? Is there a taxpayer? So that's right, No, be hide away in the mountains. Name less, gold doesn't give you any interest. Well, right now, name less, the 10-year treasury is yielding 1.66. So you buy that with the CPI 2.2%, you're actually losing. You might be getting paid interest, but the purchasing power of that interest is dropping. In Europe as well, they have negative interest rates. So you put money in the bank, you're losing money. Gold is always there. It doesn't pay interest because it's not in the it's being demonetized. But when gold was in the monetary system, that's what you lent out. So it does pay interest. Greg, yeah, I think the thing with gold is not perfect but it's the best store and stable store value over time. It might fluctuate day to day, but over the long term, it's always there. It always buys you something. A piece of, the uh, Reichsmark from the Weimar Republic. I have some, but you can't go out, with a trillion Deutsch Reichsmark and buy anything. But you find a coin that's been buried for 500 years, and that gold coin will still be worth something. Just purchase a hideaway of land in Wales. Yeah, my daughter just got back from Wales. Her boyfriend, his family lived there. It's an interesting place, Wales, because it's a lot cheaper than here in London. Michael Cross, did you see George Soros at Davos? No, I didn't listen to him. I saw a headline in the story that he wants to give away $1 billion to fight anyone that's not with him. Hideaway in an island, yeah. David in Cyprus, they had bail-in and took money straight from your bank account. Yeah, the bail-in, that's when they did a bail-in. A lot of big companies, people forget, it's not just individuals that keep money in the bank. So you could work for a fairly, not a huge corporation, but a big company, and they need to keep like €1 million or $1 million in the bank to operate. And if their bank does a bail-in, and the limit of insurance is €100,000, that company could go bust and you could lose your job. So even if you didn't have any money in the bank, that's what people need to understand as well. Rainbird, Mario, great video earlier on currency exchange rates and gold conversion values. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, Rainbird? That's why, all these exchange rates are a derivative of gold. And that's why when the system implodes, it will all go back to gold. Sorry, Ben, I'm in England. I have no idea where you could buy gold in Australia, but I would do a Google search wherever you are, bullion dealer, coin dealer. Yeah. Perth Mint. Yeah, the Perth Mint. That's a good one. Did you know that the Perth Mint was actually owned by the Rothschilds up until I think 1968 or 71, and then it was nationalized back to Australia? Lord Humongous thinks the world leaders need a good golf tournament over differences. Yeah, or if they're gonna have a war, they can go there with their families and fight against each other, but not send our own children. I think Perth Mint, I'm not sure if it's private or state owned, like it's in Western Australia. You need to check that. I think it's private. Harry Chu, do you consider brokerage as a bank as far as exposure, as far as having exposure, too much exposure in the system? Well, let's say you put your money with a broker. Unless that broker is a bank, he's going to put the money in a bank. So if you broke with Acme Brokerage, they might have their account with JP Morgan or Bank of America. So they'll put your money there. It will be in this, hopefully in a allocated account, not in their name. But yeah, so yeah, it's not safe, a broker, unless he's a small bank as well. They're going to put the money with another bank. Not another bank, but with a bank, because their brokers are not depository institutions. So if you send a $10,000 to your broker, he's going to give you the banking details, his banking details. You're not sending it to him. You're sending it to his account at, yeah, Harry Chu. They probably bank with JP Morgan, and you need to check. They're not banking institutions, TD or Fidelity or Schwab. Michael, I've got some Bitcoin. I also have EOS and some other altcoins. I have a little bit of Monero as well, not too much. Ethereum, yeah, I haven't. I used to have more Ethereum. I don't have that much. Silver Daddy Silver mining shares or mining stocks. What I've done in the past is to look at what the major gold mining funds hold and try to emulate their holdings, like Sprott Asset Management, the Tocqueville Fund. The other thing you need to know is that there's all different kinds of mining companies. There's the senior miners like Newmont Mining, which will probably do well if gold goes up. But there's the junior exploration. You need to look at, you need to do a lot your homework, because it's not really like buying gold. You need to look at the company as well. Gold-backed crypto, I'm not sure if there is one. I saw a headline about one, but thing is that it's a difficult combination because cryptos are supposed to be decentralized. So, and if you're going to have a gold currency, you have to have it in a warehouse in a central location. All right, I'll take a few more questions, and then I'll call it a day. We're almost up to an hour. Let's see. Matthew. I've got Glint, but I would never recommend it now. Don't trust it anymore, like a gold back crypto. Yeah, I mean, Glint, they had that problem September to November last year. They went into administration mainly because someone, a company from Singapore, wanted to take over them, and they didn't accept the takeover bid, hostile takeover. So what they did is they bought some debt that they had, Glint had, and then triggered the covenants and the administration. But yeah, it wasn't nice to have your funds blocked for 2 months. But when they came out of administration, all the funds were there, all the gold was there. So that's the situation there. Let's see, pension, right. Thank you, Michael John Scott. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Any of you who are new to the channel, who've been here on this live stream, think about subscribing. I make a video every day of the week, including Saturday. Usually in the morning, I cover where the markets are early in London. And I talk about something to do with economics and the markets, as well as covering the markets. Thank you, everyone, again. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great rest of the weekend, or have a great start to the week if you're in Australia or in the Far East. Bye.